This is a map I made that shows where I wanted to buy property. And last year, I bought land near one of the most expensive cities in the country and paid cents on the dollar for it. There's an opportunity in buying land right now. In and around Austin, you may be able to find raw 2 to 3 acres of land for as little as $400,000 and as high as $3 million. I paid about $100,000 for an extra 2.75 acres, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can do the same. But the craziest thing that most people don't understand is that I was able to use a conventional loan, and I'm about to develop the land at a steep discount and create even more equity, cash flows, and massive tax savings. Now, most people think you have to purchase land with cash because most banks will not loan on raw land. And once acquired, it can cost you tens and even hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get permits, put in a driveway, bring in utilities, and all the horizontal work that you need to do. But I use a workaround that me and my students have been using for decades. Now, back in 2019, you were able to buy something like this or this for a reasonable price. But now, that same amount of money gets you something like this. Now in 2024, we have to be a little bit more creative and flexible, and we start to get stuff like this, where we're able to get great prices, creating multiple 6 and 7 figures in profits, equity, and tax savings. And we all followed a simple step-by-step strategy that I'm going to share with you for free today, so you can apply it to your next deal and have a property that looks something like this. I only ask you to name your firstborn after me, no big deal. Because when you know how veteran investors look at deals to make millions, you'll be able to consistently use sites like Zillow or Redfin and sort through the bad and good deals to find a worthy property in the next 3 to 5 days. All without having to go to school for your real estate degree, decades of experience, or being a genius investor. So here's why the opportunity buying land is now. It's because of maps like this one all over the country. Let me explain. Every city has a boundary that is called the city limits. It looks something like this. Now, everything inside this area is considered prime real estate because that's the center of the city. And that's made up of commercial, industrial, parks, banks, museums, government buildings, and of course, a couple of residential structures like high-rise condos. Now, I call areas like this city islands because the city center is completely surrounded and there's only new land if someone knocks down an existing structure or infrastructure. Prime real estate equals very expensive real estate. Then we have this next layer, which is the greater metro area that is usually called the urban residential zone. As the city grows, this will naturally be pulled into the first prime zone. But typically, this is where you start to find the strip malls, car dealerships, and more family housing. Then you venture out one more ring and you get into the suburbs and neighborhoods of the city. This area is not as expensive as prime or urban areas, but acres will still cost you a fortune. Then we have an area outside of the urban growth boundary, and this is what we're interested in right here. Now, back in 2020, people in these two zones felt like they were imprisoned. People were looking to escape the city, and guess where they went? They went to this zone here. I dubbed this the Serenity Zone. Now, people started buying second homes, vacation properties, cabins, just in case of a repeat of 2020 ever happened again. Now, others just fell in love with the peacefulness of the countryside and decided to give up city living and push outwards towards the country, like me, back in 2014. And we saw this massive influx of people moving out into the rural areas. Now, the amount of people moving out to the country was large enough to drive up rural property values, but not enough to necessarily drop the city values. That's because there were still more people moving into the cities, like what Californians did to Portland, Seattle, Boise, and of course Austin. Starting to notice a little bit of a trend and a pattern with those Californians. I still love you guys though. But that's just part of the reason, not the core issue. Right now in America, the cost of living and owning a home in the city is significantly more than what the average worker can afford, but we all need shelter. It's one of the major needs of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So what do those people do if they can't afford it anymore? They naturally go to areas where it's less expensive and affordable for them. And we begin to see this domino effect of people getting pushed further and further out into the outer rings that surrounds the city center. This is happening right now. Like literally this minute that you're watching this, it's happening this moment, this minute. Meaning all of this land is about to get really, really expensive if it hasn't already started to around your city or where you live now. Now, there's one more secret why this opportunity is still around, but it won't be for much longer. There are investors similar to me and some way bigger than me who would like to acquire beautiful places or pieces of land near areas that get a lot of traffic where future homes will be built. Think about like waterfalls, parks, mountains, rivers, and popular escapes for city folks. And we build sustainable, unique structures that are surrounded by nature, and we cater to folks who want to escape the city from time to time. And we can make a lot of money doing it. And where a lot of money is to be made, more and more people and investors are going to be drawn to it. Now, if this is something that at all interests you, if you want to learn more, you can actually set up a free 15-minute call with me and my team to see if we can help you do something like this near you. My calendar link is just down below. Now, between second country homes, people being pushed outward from the city, and investors gobbling up land, you're about to miss the land buying opportunity of a lifetime. But don't just go out there and buy any random piece of land yet, because this is how you get extra land for a fraction of the price. I call it the bundling method. Now, professional investors do it all the time, and you've probably heard of it, but never thought about doing it yourself. If you search for raw or even improved land around your city, you'll probably notice that they're really expensive. And then you just have to get into the development part. But when you bundle a house together with land, the cost per acre drops significantly. The bundling method is such a well-known thing among developers that it's a common strategy that virtually every developer and builder does. What they do is they buy a large tract or multiple tracts of land, and then they split them up and they sell off lots individually for a higher price point. Think Costco buying in bulk versus 7-Eleven. Pack of protein bars in a box of 24 is probably only like 85 cents each at Costco. But if you buy only one at the 7-Eleven or the gas station convenience store, it's probably gonna cost you like $2.50 or $3. It's the same thing with land. And there are people doing this exact thing all around the world, not just in the United States. Take this property, for example, right here. I'm on about 3.2 acres just outside of Austin city limits. I paid about $800,000 for this property, where the structure itself is valued around $700,000 and sits on approximately just about a quarter acre. Now, here's the cost segregation report that I did last year, where it was conservatively valued. That means that I paid an extra $100,000 for about 3 acres of land, or $33,000 per acre. Now, non-farming buildable acreage for $33,000 near Austin is virtually impossible to find unless you're way out in the middle of nowhere. So once you understand how to look for these types of properties, you'll be able to see and spot opportunities 90% of other people never see when they're browsing Zillow or Redfin or working with their agents. Just like what Kapina and Shan did here with this one, or like Eder, like this one, or Lauren and Stan with this one. Now, the way to do this is just one easy step that you can do literally right now. Pull up another tab on your internet browser, go to Zillow or Redfin, whatever you choose, and pull up any major city that you live nearby. In this example, I'm using Nashville. Right off the bat, you can see that it's really crowded, okay? Now, what we're gonna do here is automatically go to filter, and we're gonna deselect all and pick the house and select just houses. That's all we wanna see. Hit apply. And then we're gonna go to more. And what I wanna go is go down here to lot size, and I'm gonna choose looking for acreage. So you can start with 1 acre or half an acre, whatever you choose. I usually like to start at 2 to 5 acres. I'm gonna put 2 acres here. And you can immediately see that everything inside that city center is gone. Except maybe a couple of like this one right here is like a $7.2 million one. But as we zoom out, you start to see more properties show up. Now watch this. This is what I like to do. I remove my boundaries, and all of a sudden we see a bunch of more properties begin to pop up as well. What's important here is we start applying different techniques and methods like the golden triangle method or golden geometry. We start finding the best areas to be purchasing in. And then when we start doing this, we can start seeing all these homes that are available with at least 2 acres or more in around a major city that we either want to be near or that we are currently living in. But if it were that easy, everyone would be doing this, and the rural areas would be constantly in a bidding war. So you need to ask yourself these 3 key questions. 1, does the main house have character that can be brought out on a budget? You don't want an endless money pit trying to shine a turd, unless it makes financial sense. But for a relatively small investment, you can improve the home or the main structure so it actually increases the value of the overall property. 2nd, does the land itself have potential for expansion? We call this land and expand. This includes zoning, permits, and views. Now remember, not all land is created equal. Kind of like these 2 pictures here. Both are obviously land, but one is inherently much more valuable, and I think you can see why. Don't think just because you can go buy and own acreage that it is going to be profitable or it's even good land. 3, ask yourself, are people moving and traveling into this area? This whole model is built on traffic either coming to you now or in the near future. Ideally, it's both. And then if people are moving into this area in the next 3, 5, or 10 years, that means you'll gain appreciation. And if people are traveling to this area, that means that you have an opportunity for cash flows. those. Now, unless you're already rich, there's a technique I use so you can buy large acreages of land without a ton of cash. And with cash, we always want the best bang for our buck. And that's especially true when we begin furnishing our rentals and our homes. By now, you've probably noticed this nice black walnut dining room table in front of me. Now, I bet you didn't see it could also do this. Now, I actually was looking for a dining room table for one of our Airbnbs and came across this company called Wormwood Gaming. Now, I thought it'd be perfect for a higher end Airbnb space for people to use and play board games on. Something durable, modular, and actually looks good. And they actually have a great YouTube channel if you just want to check them out, documenting their whole operation and everything that they do. Now, from my experience, their customer service is absolutely top notch, and I honestly would give this like an A+ in craftsmanship. So if you've been considering a new desk, dining room table, or even a coffee table that looks good and you want to game on or guest in, give Wormwood Gaming a look and tell them that I sent you over. They've got a really cool Kickstarter that's coming up pretty soon for their new table. Coming out soon. Check it out because usually it sells out within a few days, if not a few hours. Link is down below. Now, it's really one simple thing to buy land without a ton of cash. Make sure there's a permitted and livable dwelling structure on the property. By doing this, you're taking advantage of conventional loans with down payments as low as 3.5%. Now, this may seem like a small thing, but it is massive. This is part of what I call land hacking, where you can finance large swaths of land where normally you'd have to buy it in cash, or at least do 40 or 50% down payments. Now, I highly recommend that first timers do not buy raw land. There's just a lot of unknowns, and unless you have extensive building experience or a lot of money, just save yourself a bunch of headache and don't buy raw land. Now, this property in Texas, I use a conventional loan, 30-year fixed, 6.5%, as low as 10% down, amortized over 30 years. And I got all this extra land for just $100,000 more. Now, this is one of the easiest and cheapest ways of acquiring acreage of land and not having to deal with permits or bringing in utilities because it was already all there, which not only saves us money, but also how it's going to make us money. And this is how you make money with your new purchase. You want to make sure you have usable acreage. This means easy access to roads, utilities, and it's something that's buildable. Think of a relatively flat lot. Now, there are 4 key ways of making money from your extra land. 1, land banking. 2, equity creation with main structure. 3, equity creation with new structures. And then 4, multiple cash flows. If you know you're in an area where urban sprawl will eventually take over, you just need to sit there and watch the value of your land increase. I remember 20 acres across the street from my childhood home back in the 90s being sold for like $100,000. Nowadays, a 10,000 square foot lot goes for like $400,000. And if you check to see if you can subdivide your land into separate parcels or tax lots, you can even create even more value. With that all said, equity creation with the main structure is my go-to strategy with any new property. I'll make another video on the best bang for the buck areas if you tell me you want something like that in the comment section down below. But this is where you quickly make $100,000 plus in equity in just your first year of owning a property. However, equity creation and cash flows with new structures is what gets me really excited though. This is where you can create places like domes, tree homes, container homes, A-frames, cabins, tiny homes, anything like that to create incredible experiences for guests. I call this my land hacking method, and we have an entire coaching platform over our techniques and professional services to help you get your property, underwrite it, and actually do the construction of what you're trying to achieve. Now, if this is something that interests you, I made a free training video that you can watch. Link is just down below, or you can even set up a 15-minute call with me and my team and see if it's a good fit for you. Now, the brilliant thing about all of this is you don't need to run new permits or run utilities, access ways, anything like that, because it's already there, meaning that you save tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars not having to trench brand new lines or build new roads, but you can instead focus your energy and your resources towards creating amazing structures that can be rented out for hundreds of dollars every night. Now that you know why right now is a great opportunity to buy land and how to get started searching, you probably want to come up with a few ideas using real life scenarios or examples. And there's a specific land hack strategy one of my students is doing at this moment that is making him between $15,000 to $20,000 a month just a few minutes away from me. So check out this video on Eder and his tiny home oasis on 10 acres in Hill Country, Texas. See you next video.